Are you a business owner stuck in fear, doubt, and worry about what the marketplace will look like in the future? Then this show is for you. Strap on your seatbelt and get ready to disrupt and innovate. Here's your host, Lisa Levy.
Today's guest, Mike Straza, is the go-to expert for businesses that are stuck, struggling, or simply not scaling the way that they should. With 25 years of experience, Mike has helped countless CEOs and business leaders identify blind spots, fix operational inefficiencies, and get business back on track fast. Mike specializes in helping businesses facing slowdowns, leadership ruts, or full-blown operational crises. Through strategic financial insights and operational overhauls, he develops actionable plans that deliver results in 90 days. Yep, you heard me right, just 90 days. Whether a company is preparing for growth, aiming for a sale, or simply trying to regain momentum, Mike's expertise ensures that they don't just survive, but they thrive. Mike, welcome to the conversation.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for having me on.
It is absolutely my pleasure, right? We are here to talk about things that are disrupting the norms and challenging the status quo so that businesses can grow and scale. And you are doing this with your clients every day. So if you would, tell my audience, tell me what it is that you're doing and why it's important for business leaders now.
Yeah. Well, what I do is I'm a fractional CFO, COO, and I go into organizations, for-profit and nonprofit companies, and I look at the overall structure of their organization and understanding where they're at this moment in time and where they want to go in the future. And a lot of times when I'm being reached out to, there's troubles. There's a issue with cash flow or employees, retention, things that are just like, okay, we don't know what's going on. How do we take care of this? And they're at a point in time where they say, okay, we have to do something. And a fractional fractional CFO can come in there at the fraction of the cost of paying a full-time person. Or if you already have a CFO, this is another a complement to helping the CFO, CEO, the C-suite group, saying, hey, you guys are busy. Your team's busy, you're trying to do all these other things, but I'm going to come in here and help you look at what your mission and vision is of your company and see, okay, how can I help reorganize it, help fix or move things forward so you guys can continue to do the things you need to do on a daily basis.
And that's absolutely fabulous. And it's really important that, right, this is not you're coming in to replace, you're coming in to complement, to elevate, and to keep people focused on running the business while you're diagnosing what it is that's causing the obstacle or the points of pain that they're experiencing.
Yeah, that's correct. You kind of look at their pain points, you look at the obstacles, and you say, okay, here's what I can do, here's what I diagnose. Basically, you're coming in like you're seeing a doctor, and you're saying, okay, here's what I'm seeing, here's what I'm thinking is happening. Let's look into this and let's work on this as you are continuing to function and do the business you need to do. I'm not here to replace you. I'm here to improve, enhance your operations and actually empower more your employees to be able to do the things that they need to do.
One of the things that you put very much kind of upfront and forward is the first piece of an engagement. We're talking 90 days, right? It is not a lengthy commitment. And for me as a consultant also, one of the things that I respect about that is it's not I'm coming in to do what the traditional Big Four consultants might do, which is bring in 20 of my youngest team members to come in and learn how to be consultants inside your business. You're bringing your knowledge, your expertise, and the impact of that is the time in which you can make change happen.
Yeah. No, it's so important from my standpoint. So I have a couple people that work with me besides myself, because in 90 days, there's a lot to cover. And, that's just, and I always say we can look at it, diagnose it, and start treating it in those 90 days. There's, of course, beyond that needs to happen. But my team that I always bring in are people that are seasoned veterans, people that have done this for many, many years in different specialties and different areas, that when I look and I diagnose, okay, I need to bring this team member. And that's well up front. I tell people it'll be me and then possibly bring in some other people based on what needs to happen. And I don't bring in I always want to encourage younger people to learn in that, but this is at this critical point. I need to bring in someone who's like, they know their stuff. They are a CPA, they are a person who has worked in organizations this size, and they're like, they understand accounting, they understand the things that need to happen, and it just goes so much quicker and smoother to really jump into making that 90 days possible.
When I was young in my career and I saw a very capable consulting team come into the environment where I was working, and they were an international team based in New Zealand, but their tagline was "We sell gray hair and scar tissue." And I was 20 something and I was like, well, that's kind of obnoxious.
Yeah.
Well, 20 some odd months more years later, I'm going, oh my God, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
It's imperative to have an impact that we bring experience to the table. So, Mike, you've described that your team, you pick and choose people who are highly qualified professionals. Because again, another thing I like to say is our learning years are not consulting years. And when we're consulting, we're giving a lot of knowledge and expertise. Talk to me about that 90-day engagement. What does that look like for your clients?
Yeah, a lot of it is I lay it out, when we initially have that first conversation, understanding, you know, what is going on, what's the health of your company, what are the things that are happening that you're noticing, or you're just like, hey, I have questions. Is this something like we're not getting any traction, we're not able to scale, our cash flow is bad. So I kind of look at that and see, kind of go through a checklist of things and say, okay, let's look at that. And then the next step is, after I talk to the C-suite people who's involved on a day-to-day basis, then I talk to the employees. If there's a certain area department I'm going to be working with, if it's finance department or if it's another one, I kind of sit down, I interview them. I talk to the different employees and ask them, this is their process and procedures, how they handle things on a day-to-day basis. And again, I always reassure the people, the employees of the company, that I'm not here to get you in trouble or to send you on your way or whatever like that. I'm here to figure out what is going well, what is not, and then understanding and try to help them figure out what do they need more of. If it's like they need more staff, they need more education, what is that thing that needs to fill in? So after I kind of do that assessment of the area of that department, then I kind of look at it as even further. It's like, okay, right now we're just going to assess this department because that's what they want. But then I also look at other departments, because if it's finance, a lot of departments are coming in and out of finance. Finance is a core part of the business. It's like things run through there. If you don't have cash flow, you don't have your good books that you're reconciling your statements and all the things that go with it, depreciation, the whole thing. If that's not going well, then it's going to really fracture the rest of the organization. So I kind of do that. Then I'll sit down with the CEO and whoever else needs to be at the table and say, okay, here's what I found. Here's where we're going. And to further go into it a little bit further, I'm bringing this person in, and this is what they're going to do a deeper dive into your finances and come back with you and say, this is what we're seeing. So that's kind of, you're moving pretty fast to do that. And then as that time goes on, we assess it and then say, okay, here's where we're at. Where do here's what I can show you at this time. What do you want to do next? And that's where it's up to them to say, oh, this is great. 90 days is great. We've done all these things, but can you stay a little longer? And my goal is to basically teach them, show them how to do things, and then over time exit out. I'm not there for long-term situation. And, some people in the consulting world, as you mentioned earlier, they come in or something like that and they camp out there and they never leave. And it's all of a sudden becomes a very full-time job. And that's fine, but I'm ready. I want to be able to give them enough tools to be able to do the things they need to do, and then check in with them every so often to make sure things are still going the way they need to.
And I 100% aligned with that idea, right? The goal is to build skills, build capabilities, and I use the language self-reliance,
Mm-hmm.
right? That company should be able to function with its team and its business processes without external intervention until there's a problem. And if there's another problem, right, happy to come back in. I'm sure you're happy to come in and go through the process to help them solve, because it should be a different problem, a different growing pain, a different part of the experience in the journey. And that's where your value add really exists, is using your own doctor metaphor. You're not the general practitioner, you're a
Right.
specialist.
Right.
And you come in for those very specific times and those needs when there's a problem that, when solved, gives them growth
Yeah.
or scale, depending on what they're looking for, or both.
Mhm.
Mike, share a story with me, and I love to always start with a big, hairy, ugly, nasty mess that you walked into that challenged you and your team.
Yeah, there's been several, but one of them was a couple years back. I was working with an organization, and they just knew there something wasn't right. The CEO reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're struggling here, and it's like something doesn't seem right. Our cash flow's a mess. We don't know where things are at. I can't diagnose it because he's the CEO and he's like, okay, that's not my world. It's not finances. It's not that whole thing. It's like I'm leading. I'm pushing the mission and vision of this company so we can grow. We can do the things we need to do. I need someone to come in here and kind of give us what is happening. So what happened then is in coming into that is not realizing how bad it was. And
Mm,
that's the thing is you're like, oh, okay, it's kind of bad. Uh, and you get in there and you realize, oh my gosh, it's just like there's so much. It's just from the team, the leadership that's leading the team to just the finances itself are not done correctly. It's not following the general practice, accounting practices. It's
yeah.
just there's so much, and as the further you dig into it, every day there was a new thing that would show up and show itself. And like, how is it? How are they still functioning? You know, they've been around for years, and it's like
Sure.
I am so confused, and it's just like you're every time it's like you're trying to bail out a boat and you're like I'm using a small like cup and it's just
Yes.
flooding in and it's like I how do you do this? So it's more of and then just being honest with that then you need to be honest with the CEO and say, hey, here's where we're at. This is a lot more, this is a bigger hole in the boat than you realize. So
Yeah.
we need to really first figure out what to do to immediately stop what's
Yeah.
happening, and then from there come up with new processes, procedures, training, all these things, because that's what's happening is it's like basically it's a risk. You're assessing the what's happening. Let's go back to the doctor's analogy. It's like, okay, you see a person, they say, hey, this hurts, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, it hurts because you have this big gash in you. You came in and said it just hurts, and then you realize it's a little bit more serious than just I have a bruise. So those are the kind of things where in this situation is doing that, and it's like 30, 60, 90 days goes by fast,
Yeah.
and it's like we stop the bleeding. Now
Mhm.
we're doing all these things, but it's going to take more than 90 days. It's like you're on the right track, but we're going to continue to do this. Here's the treatment. Here's the thing we need to do. So that's what I did with that. And they have seen success because of it, because they addressed it, they looked at it, and it was having an outside source come in
Yep.
and be honest and say, I have nothing to gain other than helping you to be successful. And it's not someone in the company that's saying, hey, with this and this, and everyone's tired of hearing that. Here you come in here, you do it, you assess it, and you move forward, and everyone's happier to work there, to
Mhm.
feel like, hey, we are moving forward, and that's the goal.
When you are evaluating a customer, a potential client,
Mhm.
is there something, that one thing that says when you're talking to that in that initial conversation that allows you to go, I can work with this team?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, yeah, there's, that's something always a question that comes up is how do you help somebody? Because it's like sometimes it's a gut feeling.
Mm,
I've been doing this for, like you said, 25 plus years, owned, operated businesses, help, consult, guide people through the different ups and downs of business and, economy, things like that. And sometimes it's just like, okay, I maybe we hit it off, or it's like, oh, this is going to work really well. And other times, like, okay, we're not we see things very differently, but knowing the willingness of the leadership of wanting change, and you really have to walk through that. And there's questions you can ask us to see, are they really wanting change, or they just like, oh, we're just checking a box because people are upset, but I'm going to still do it the way I want to do it. So you kind of know if there's a little bit of humbleness or some willing to
mhm.
change, because at times you're like, I don't want to be this way, but then you don't change anyways. And so you kind of get to know that as the years of experience of just life itself, you start realizing in your own self and other people, like, are they really serious about wanting change or they're not? And then how far are they willing to go? Because we're only going to go so far. It's like you say, here's all the things you need to do. And it's like, here's 100 things. And like, well, okay, I'll do 25 of them this year. Maybe next year I'll do another 25, but you can't do them all because it's overwhelming. So I kind of look at that and kind of get a feel for, as I ask those questions to the CEO, is like, okay, where are you at? What are you thinking? Are you at a point where you're just like, okay, enough is enough, and I'm willing to change?
And I wholeheartedly agree. And in my experience, the times that I've had the greatest challenges with clients is when that CEO was not self-aware enough to understand that change was required, may have said all of the right things, but my little spidey senses were going, he's saying them, but does he mean them? But the cause was good, and so I jumped in. And then, right, you're battling that sense of that leader that thinks that they're the smartest person in the room, thinks that they know it better than everybody else, and yet their business is struggling because they're not self-aware enough to know that change is eminently required. And if they don't get out of their own way, it will be the critical flaw in failing for their business.
And that's one of the things too, is they think it's everyone else that needs to change and not them. And that's the problem. It's like, well, you fix everybody else and we should be great. And like, actually we got to start at the very top. And that's where probably some of that, a lot of times that's where it has to change first before you can even see that major growth and change in others.
Yeah. When I work with clients in that kind of that initial assessment and the getting to know the environment, one of the things I love to do is, what is the vision from the top? How, what does the CEO think and say? And you get it from the top, and then you get it from middle management, and then you ask the same question, and then read back to the CEO what they think they're saying and what people are actually hearing, and go,
Right.
this is the problem,
Yeah.
right? This is where we have to start. Mike, you've also built and many businesses. You are a business owner and
Yeah.
entrepreneur in your own right. As you're growing and maturing your practice, what are some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome for success with your own business?
Yeah, a lot of it has been, I mean, the basic one is sometimes you just don't know what you don't know as you're building a business. It's like, it just seems like it should be so straightforward, and it's not at times. Cash flow is always the issue. I
Mm,
mean, any business, you're in a growth phase and you're burning through cash. Your burn rate is just so high, and you're trying to figure out how to keep that going. Or you're building, but you're like, you're needing some other things, other support staff, and you're like, how do I do it? Because when I originally started some businesses, it was me and a couple other people. It was like 5 people, and then all of a sudden we grew really fast. We're growing 30% at a year, and we're just going through it. So it's like, first we could all, 5 of us could do all the things, and then all of a sudden you realize we can't do it all. So then we can start hiring people. Well, then those people are like, I only want to work X amount of hours. I'm not here to work 40 plus hours. And I need to be, this is what the pay area, the benefits and all that. So you learn all these things. It's like, oh yeah, benefits and hours, and they're not going to be is willing to put in more and more time, because again, there's that benefit. You're thinking, okay, as an owner, I benefit as this thing grows. I'll, hopefully make more money, be more successful. Other employees are like, hey, I like this. I feel included. But again, it's when they go home, I have to sit there and think about what needs to happen next. And I think that's where it's just like you have the stress, and the buy-in is going to be a little bit more higher with the original owners. And that's what I noticed was that. And then the cash flow is the biggest thing. It's like,
yeah.
you just, the banks, you borrowing or doing whatever, and the banks are like, hey, you need to, you're pushing it too much. You need to slow down. So that was always a funny one to me, was when the banks would be like, um, we need to see this, but you need to figure out how to not, grow as fast. And it's like, okay, how do I tell customers, how do I stop building? How do I stop doing this? So I'm in this range of risk that you're comfortable
Mhm.
with. It's like, I can't do that. It's like, you can't just like, hey, I'm going to put a pause on this for you people over here and this group over here. And it's like, I don't think that's how it works, but banks are risk adverse. They don't want to, they want to, say they want to give you money, but at times they're like, but you need to have the money in your own account, personal account. So I'm like, so wait, I'm borrowing from you, but I have to have all this already. I'm like, I don't understand the borrowing process. So that was a learning curve for me, was really understanding how to leverage what you have, your own personal assets versus bank assets to other investors, things like that. That's a huge learning curve for me at that time, and I try to give that advice to people, young entrepreneurs, business owners, of just showing them the options and being very careful of what you choose, because there are things that are good and bad that come with it.
There absolutely are. And that we could dig into a whole nother conversation on how to build and grow your business and how to protect yourself personally. But I'm going to not go down that rabbit hole right now because we could be there again for a whole nother
Yeah.
show. But what is interesting in what you were describing and thinking through, right, what I believe you and I both do with our clients, right? We're helping them solve problems for their clients, right? They only exist, or customers, depending on if it's a product or a service. They only exist if they have a client or a customer that are willing to pay. Banks don't give a care in the world for your client or your customer. They only care about their money.
Yeah.
And it's a very different business model, and one that is incredibly frustrating for anybody who has dealt with financing in a business environment.
Yeah.
Mike, we have talked about a lot of fun things today. If you have piqued the interest and curiosity of members of the audience, how do they learn more?
Yeah, if they want to learn more, or reach out to me. LinkedIn, that's Michael Straza. You look me up in LinkedIn. I have a lot of blog posts, a lot of video, just some things to think about for C-level to all the way through the whole organization, of thinking of things, what things to think about as you are starting a business, building a business, scaling a business. And then also to my website is Consult Straza, or strazaconsulting.com. You can find it those two locations, and it just there's a thing you can fill out, a form, and say, hey, I'm interested, would love to talk to you. I'll reach out to you as soon as possible.
Fantastic. And all of those links, both of those links will be in the show notes for easy access. Mike, I've enjoyed our conversation today. Audience, Mike has taken us through a journey where you're talking about how it's important and that you can bring in fractional consulting support in times of trouble, when you're seeing cash flow issues, employee turnover, when things just aren't making sense of the way that they should. That there are resources like Mike who come in on a fractional basis with supporting team members to help diagnose and solve problems, to complement and elevate your existing leadership team so that your business is the most successful version of itself that it can be. In his engagements, we start with kind of a 90-day interaction where he's understanding the day-to-day operations from the executive level and the operational tier, understanding cross-functional implications, and sharing findings with the leadership so that decisions can be made about the appropriate course of action forward. Every business at some point in time is going to need third-party support. It's a reality, whether you want a coach, a consultant, or somebody else. Mike has an approach that helps really support and elevate the executive team to be successful with the desire to leave your environment in a better place than he found it. And I'm going to reinforce that again. His desire is to leave the environment because it's yours. Audience members, you know my rules. Don't get left behind. Join me next time.
That's it for today's episode of Disrupt and Innovate. Head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show.